Brace yourself. Gonna blast up anytime now. Collect yourself. Things will never be the same in this sad, sad world.
Well, friends, we have survived our first week of remote learning. Congratulations. I want to let you know I am very happy with you this week. You've shown great resiliency. I don't know if that is a word you're familiar with, but if you're not, you're about to be familiar with it. Resiliency is the ability to bounce back, okay? When you get hit, you bounce right back into shape. And we've been hit. We've been hit with this coronavirus, with the quarantine, with the isolation, the interruption of our routines, the introduction of chaos into our lives. And probably the hardest and most painful part of it is all of the people that we have to support us that we probably take for granted when they're around every day are now gone. They're still there, but we don't see them every day. We get used to being with one another, and more importantly, although I do get used to being with you guys every day, and I do miss you all very much. But more importantly, you get used to being with one another every day. And so when it feels like an earthquake, when the walls start caving in, the walls of those social structures that are built up. So I want to offer this word of encouragement that we are still here for each other, even though we're only seeing one another on the other side of a computer screen or the other side of a phone. There's a sense in which crisis moments like this, as much as we wish we never had to encounter them, crisis moments like this bring us closer together. And so my biggest hope is that when we come out the other side of this, we won't lose the appreciation for the value of one another that we've built up over this time apart. What have we done this week? Well, we've done a lot. We got to know Aristotle of Stagira and got to know his life story from his birth in 384 BC in that small town of Stagira. The death of his father at age 13, the rumors that he spent his teenage years in some wild and crazy adventures, including trying to be a teenage doctor and even taking to the streets to sell drugs, before he's rescued from this by Proxenus, his adoptive father, and then sent off to Athens to study under the great philosopher Plato. He learns everything Plato has to teach him and disagrees with about 99% of it. We saw the vast number of subjects that Aristotle became the master of, from metaphysics and ethics down to poetry and physics. I don't think I mentioned that last time, but physics and natural science, and then biology. So he'd have his days equally divided between figuring out what makes jokes funny and how the inside of a cow works. And, not just dabbling, like any of us can watch a YouTube video here and there about those subjects, but Aristotle mastered them. Aristotle laid the ground for all the knowledge in those fields for centuries and centuries to come. In the meantime, he found time to become the tutor of Alexander the Great, who would go on to conquer the world. And remember, we said that you look at a map and the countries are different colors. The real color of any empire is red. because you conquer territory by kicking in doors and cutting throats. It's one of the great mysteries of the human experience is why, if I want your phone and so I kill you and take it, they call me a murderer. If I want your country, so I kill 10,000 of you and take it, they call me a king. History has named Alexander Great because of this, and Aristotle was his teacher. Alexander didn't live forever. In fact, he dropped dead real young at the age of 32, and so we saw how this caused Aristotle some real problems. Because all of a sudden, everyone's looking at Aristotle and saying, hey, wait a minute, aren't you the guy who taught the guy who killed my family everything he knew? And people turned on Aristotle real quick. They charged him with impiety, that is neglecting the traditional gods, and with corrupting the youth. You'll recognize, as we said in the last video, you'll recognize those as the same charges that were leveled against Socrates. The difference between Socrates and Aristotle is that Socrates is all about the soul and escaping the body and finding freedom in this other realm, at least as Plato explains him. And Socrates is this idealist who says, I will gladly trade my life to prove a point. That's how important my mission is. Aristotle's like, nah, I will gladly trade my mission to save my life. Aristotle's much more practical. If Plato were in charge of dealing with the coronavirus, Plato would tell us, coronavirus, it's just another sign that these bodies that change and are subject to illness are not what's really important. So we should use this time of illness to focus on meditating on the forms in the other world. And maybe, just maybe, if we do that and we please the one, and we please the demiurge, maybe we'll also get some release. Aristotle, if he were in charge of the coronavirus, would say, let's put this under a microscope. Of course, he didn't have microscopes, but if he were alive today, let's put this under a microscope and see how it works and see what can be done to cure this, because this life is the only life that we're guaranteed that we have. I think we should all be pretty thankful that there was someone like Aristotle to introduce us to natural science, so that more is being done to solve this problem than just cross our fingers and hope. We should be glad that there's someone like Plato to tell us that the things inside are also of us are also important, so that we are inspired to care for one another and offer support to one another. You need them both. If it were just Aristotle, you wouldn't have many people find comfort in prayer and faith and spirituality. And Plato is the father of all of that in the West. If we're up to Aristotle, we really wouldn't have any of that. And he'd probably be saying, well, find the dumbest and the weakest people and infect them on purpose and then cut them open. So we need a little bit of Plato in there too, I think. But if it weren't for Aristotle, we'd have nothing but thoughts and prayers and nobody working on finding a cure. Let's talk about what's to come, and then I will wish you all a good weekend. Today, some of your classmates were my trainers on how to use live video conferencing, and we had a good session and had a lot of fun with that. So we're going to start incorporating that into this class. Monday will be the first time we do that. I will host a live study session for the life of Aristotle. Mark your calendars for 11 o'clock in the morning, Monday, or 2:30 in the afternoon, Monday. At both of those times, I will host a live study session for the Life of Aristotle quiz. I've also posted a study guide for that. That is not an assignment that you have to do and turn in. It is for you to use to make your notes to prepare yourself for the quiz next week. I will put the quiz up on Monday. Don't do it on Monday unless you're ready for it. I'm not going to make you turn it in until Friday. Give you a chance to review the material, give you a chance to come to these study sessions if you're able to. So don't do it until you're ready for it. You'll have the full week, but it will be available starting Monday. I'm also going to host, and I don't know when yet, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm also going to host an open forum live conference session. This will be more relaxed, less of a formal agenda, give you a chance to touch base with your thoughts, with your concerns, also just give you a safe environment to stay connected to each other and talk to each other. That was one of the biggest pieces of feedback I got from my practice session today, is that people really liked that and really found it helpful, and I am happy to offer that for you. If you don't see something like that scheduled and you want one, send me an email. And if at all possible, I'll jump on Zoom and post an invite and say, hey guys, just come on in and we can chat. Okay. I've only got one senior in my class, but if any of you were friends with any of our seniors, our 12th graders, take a moment to say a special kind word to our seniors. This has got to be an incredibly stressful and disappointing time for them. The last semester of your senior year is a time to write the end of your high school story. It's a time to focus on making the memories that will last a lifetime. Things like prom and things like just seeing one another in the hallway. Because look, life changes like that right afterwards. You're with your closest friends all day, every day for 12 years, and then you're not. Those last few months to be together are super important, and they are losing, without warning, a big chunk of that. And I don't have any inside information, but there's still a question mark hanging over us. Are we really coming back together April 15th? Are we really coming back together at all this school year? I hope. But if for the sake of all of our health, we're not able to, then I hope we don't. Seniors are grieving right now. Seniors are mourning the loss of that opportunity. If I know most of you are freshmen, but if you're friends with any seniors, send them a word of support. Be there for them. I know you can't be together with them in person, but be there for them this way. All right. Guys, thank you. The engagement on Edmodo has been awesome. You guys are great. This is a heavy load that's been placed on your shoulders, and I thank you for how well you are living up to the challenge. Have as great a weekend as possible. With your windows boarded up and locked up at home, and I'll be back with you on Monday.
Walk around a lot a bit, trying to make the pieces fit to a puzzle with a million missing pieces. When I'm feeling fine is when I discover that I'm afraid to blow my cover, and there's something very wrong with this. So slip back in your hole, or get back in your cave. If I'm going down, I'm taking someone with